With that being said, I just want to kind of go through from top to bottom, take a look at these things. One of the drawbacks to Google Classrooms, in my opinion, is its inability to organize these effectively. The best option they give you is just move to the top. So, with that being said, let's take a look at what we've got. First of all, this is a reflection on the list. This is for teachers. I've got it right here, all your for teacher stuff, etc. A good way to organize that sort of thing. However, with that being said, I've got 13 things, kind of like an outline that I want to talk about, make sure that I talk about. Let's see if I can get those where I can read them. First of all, let's go ahead and talk about this video. This was kind of a hook into the lesson. I would like more hooks like this. It would be more fun, I think, for something like this to show up every day with our Class Connect session. But this one is really cool. Basically, it's a race between a Peugeot hybrid and this Audi RS3. I don't know too much about speedy cars, but I do know that the sound that these engines make is pretty intense. So if you're watching this video, you may not, obviously you don't have the volume. It's on the lesson. I highly recommend you turn your volume up and really listen to these guys growl at each other before they take off. Students seem to enjoy this race, and as you can see, our friend the hybrid is going to pull away here in a second, and now we have something to talk about, right? Hybrids just aren't little Toyota Priuses that we see out in the world that everybody makes fun of. They're other hybrids. This is a good jumping off place, right? I hope that I've created like a no risk participation activity, right? We can talk about this, and we don't have to know anything about math. We don't have to know anything about calculations, but now we're getting warmed up. Now we're getting into, hopefully, the nuts and bolts of the lesson. Alright, so one of the first assignments I had them do for this was just, what kind of car are you? It's just a quick little thing. They were supposed to come in here. There were slides created that basically give them the instructions. These are slides I would have shown in class, maybe talked about with them. Here's an example of a car that I think I am. Okay, I think I'm the Tesla, but once again, it's all electric, and lots of conversations on different types of cars. And even at the very end, I would confess there's still quite a bit of confusion about what it is. Over here is a video. Now, this video is a video that I created that goes through the entire lesson. So let's say you were absent that day, you didn't happen to, I don't know, whatever. The long story short on this one is, kids can miss a Class Connect session. It seems unlikely that a large segment of our population isn't going to watch the whole hour, but they might watch 4 minutes, and they might have enough information from this to complete the lesson and maybe learn something. This was my first attempt at data. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it. I think one of the assignments was an exit ticket where I had students make up or basically explain the difference between a hybrid and an electric car. And as you can see, I've got pretty decent. I got about a third of my students participated with this lesson. Oh, we'll just leave that at that. Whoops, I thought I shrunk it. Here we go. All right, Civic Duty 1 corrections. A lot of them just didn't participate. We can go back up here and take a look at this, and we can see there's a long list of kids who not only didn't do anything, but it needs work. They didn't follow the directions. The first time around, almost nobody did it, so I created this to hopefully try for round 2. It gets better. And then we have our first part of the lesson. This is Civic Duty Act 1. This one's kind of cool. We've got the slides. Students were supposed to make a copy of these slides. Right? Now, how do you guys like my new tattoo? Just kidding. That's my sister's tattoo. Everything's written out. Fill in the blanks. Get these calculations going. We covered this in class. I showed this in class. This was something I uploaded to Class Connects, and we talked about this and we went through this. I gave them an extra credit, something, just to keep the bright ones or the ones who understand it on their toes. These questions that required this sort of processing or this sort of thinking were very difficult for many students. This is where they kind of hit a wall. So we spent a lot of time in class talking about this one. Here's another one that's even more sophisticated. They've got to come up with some sort of ratio or proportion that explains when it's effective to, or when it's cost effective, to buy the hybrid as opposed to the internal combustion engine. And then at the very end, I was hoping that by the end of that particular class, they would have this table in and all these numbers in correctly, right? I think we actually did this in class, so that actually worked out. Civic Duty Act 2. Oh, I forgot my rubric. Here's my first rubric. This was given to students so they would have a means of measuring their work and holding it up against something that for a fair grade. As you can see, this is their first row. It's pretty basic, nothing fancy to it. The second one gets a little more exciting. But here we go. This is a video. A lot of the stuff that from the Mathalicious, it's the way that's designed isn't exactly, I don't know, generous to just an online format like the ones we have. So I had to do some finagling. I didn't create a video for this one because we were going to, as far as explaining the directions, because it's pretty much the same thing up here. And the directions, once again, are written on the slides. Maybe in the future I should create a video to help explain this, but I don't know. At the end of the day, many of them seem to understand. We went over this in class. We talked about it. The emphasis on this one was to begin sharing comments. All right, focus on comments. And here I am over here saying, hi, I'll be helping you through comments. I read a pretty interesting book while we were testing. I borrowed from Miss York, and I thought this would be a good place to practice. All right, here I've got Ryan Harris Miller in here with me, and there we go. I'm talking about a review. This was just a review. We hadn't talked about this in a while. Basically, I just wanted them to go and copy and paste their slides, or for those students who never did anything ever with this, this would be an opportunity for them to do it now. And once again, this was key. This was pivotal. A lot of kids were still stuck on giving me some really weird stuff, but some of this never really gave me the ears, and I don't know. I don't know. This was just one of those that required some significant. I don't know. I don't know what went wrong. So here's Act 2. What's the verdict? We have to go back through here, look at some new resources. We talk about this a bit. They were supposed to answer this question. I just want them to fill out this table to show me or demonstrate that these numbers are going to be exactly the same. And then I want them to just kind of, if you were the judge, how much would you award and why? Now, I wish I had, this slide could be beefed up a little bit. This one is kind of unclear. If I had it to do over again, I'd add some more details to this. All right, so being deceptive in their advertising. Okay, so I get a couple of sentences from everybody saying, yeah, I think it's deceptive. I don't know, there needs to be a better question for this, something that, or maybe a higher standard for responses. Pros and cons list. Some kids did really well. This was just a Google exercise. Some of it shows up in that video that's on there as a resource. And this is where I start getting into some of the bigger thinking, from me anyway. And I write out this conclusion, or a conclusion that I come to, and there's more things that I've thought about, but this is one of the main ideas that I took away from this. And so I put this out there with the intention of sparking some debate or some sort of thinking, etc., etc. But what I think I'm doing, or what I hope I'm doing, is creating a place to start collecting qualitative data, stuff where I can say this individual student is missing this, and it's just me qualifying it. I'm not really using numbers. I'm just saying this is wrong thinking because of X, Y, and Z, and maybe if we do 1, 2, and 3, this is going to pull them through or make it more clear to them. For Monday, this was something we did just to kind of get ready for this. We wanted to have all these questions answered. And like again, I said I went through this in class, but it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to create a video to go along with this so there's no excuses, right? So we're just trying to thrust accountability back at learning coaches and students themselves. Here's a link to Khan Academy. It's one of my favorite links to Khan Academy because this is a skill that we have to have in order to work through this particular lesson. We need to be able to add and subtract rational numbers. Students click on it, takes them right to their website. Oh, I clicked the wrong one, excuse me. It takes it right here. This is a free resource. It gives you all kinds of great data. All right, adding and subtracting numbers. Whoops. Shows up here, right? You can link to it here. These are my students who are struggling in my homeroom. These are kids who probably haven't even started it yet, to be quite honest with you. This guy's on his way up. This guy's a little further along. These two guys are getting close to mastering it with these group. So we've at least established a foundation, hopefully, for just performing the basic calculations of the exercise. I used a play pause it for this one. They're supposed to watch this video, and at the end of the video there's a question. Let's see if it works. If you get a chance, you can check it out. But this is a good way for just... One of the things that students seem to have difficulty with throughout is they never really understood that you don't have to plug these in. Right? I'm not sure what I did wrong or where the miscommunication was. Here's something one of my students put up there for us all to enjoy. Good stuff. Let's see. Here's an example. I'm running up against about a minute, and so let's just take a look at this. When I graded the rubric, I simply just took the information and went through there. I checked it off. Did you get it all? She got the extra credit. She got 110. So I put this at the top of her slide so she could go back and look at the rubric and try to be transparent that way. Last but not, that's all. These are all student participation. They're just clicking them in. There was a place to put them. They didn't really want to put them out in the main room, but as things went along, I figured it was okay. I didn't fight it too hard. One last thing I'd like to say about this in this video, which is up against the last minute and a half, is this. When I look at their data, when I look at their stuff, what I chose to do is grade them for realsies based out here and return it so they could see it. Now, if I did return it, let's see, for them, a lot of them got the information on the rubric. So here we are in Civic Duty Activity. Here's Miss Autumn Bergs. We'll use her for an example. I hope she doesn't mind.